Coming up, what an excellent day for pea soup. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 86 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate the Exorcist minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with a familiar voice saying, "Could you help an old altar boy, Father?"
And it ends in a familiar basement playroom looking at some art.
Yes, but before we head down to the basement, let's finish this little tete-a-tete we got going on upstairs. Folks, if you'll remember, Damien had just turned away from the bed and begun walking toward the window as he says, "Show me Regan, and I'll undo one of the straps." We now cut to a close-up of his face as we hear a familiar voice. Well, maybe familiar. It's been a while for us. We haven't heard it since minute 19, way back in November of last year. But for Dimmy, I'm sure he had no trouble recognizing the voice of the homeless man in the subway. The homeless man who, in the movie at least, it's very clear that he didn't help. Now that voice floats back up to the surface of his memory like some forgotten ghost.
Right, and it does the same for us because it's such a distinctive voice, right? So now we don't realize it at the time, but we have given like this incredibly distinctive performance by Vinnie Russell so that, you know, at the time we just, that's just a really weird, interesting thing. But now when it calls back here, we're like, oh God, that's the guy, right? Or if we don't necessarily recognize that cadence, that accent, this really strange line even, "Could you help when a lot the boy fada," right? Yeah. That even if we don't, I think that most people would remember that, right? But even if we don't, we're like, oh, that's so strange, right? It's so something. It's not just like some random thing that he's saying.
Right. It's very, very distinct. It's not the demonic voice. It's not Burke's voice, like, "Do you know what you did?" Right?
Right.
It's not anything we've heard except that one other time in the movie, right? And you know, so it's clear that like Reagan's not doing a bit or something like that.
It's not like Robin Williams as the genie, right? I'm going to give you this voice. I'm going to give you this voice, right? I'm going to come on down to Crazy Eddie's. We're going to give you a Honda Civic from 1986 at a discount price to you, right? Like, and then, right? So it's not doing that.
No.
This is something that we are meant to remember and that will bother us, right?
Yes. And even if we don't exactly remember it, it tugs at our brain a little bit. It's like, why do I remember that, right?
Right. And we see it happening to Damien, right? To Jason Miller, kind of, he thinks about that, right?
Yeah.
Right. And he doesn't like, he's not like amused. He's not like, oh yeah, what a funny bit, Robin Williams.
Do another one. Do another one.
Yeah.
Can you do my mother? No.
Right. Give me a Richard Nixon. Right. Yeah. Give me an impression of the day. Right.
You know, it's really funny. Oh my God.
Oh, hey.
No. So it's not. Yeah. But like, and to that point, Keenan, again, folks, I just want to comment on the subtlety of performance here, right? The only indication we get that this affects Karras is that he stops. Again, we have actors playing with silence and stillness in that way, right? Using that negative space in a way that is so much louder than if he had, you know, like turned around and was like, whoa, what? You know. And it might also be because at the same time, he's trying not to show that this affects him. Remember, that's something we also said. In real life, people try their best not to cry, not to show vulnerability in front of other people, right? Not to show that something they said got to them, right? And whether Karras believes that this is the devil or not, he's not going to show this little girl that what she just said affected him. So all we get is this very brief pause, and then Karras turns his face back to the bed, and we can see that it is, in fact, troubled.
And again, just to point out for people who aren't watching along with us like minute by minute necessarily, that he, as Lester was saying, he doesn't think this is a demon. He thinks this is a little girl who's trying to get in his head. Right. Yeah. So to show like, hey, what was that? Like that would hurt the patient.
Right. Exactly.
For him to show anything
also,
else.
Yeah. Right. So his professionalism as a doctor as well.
Right.
Yeah. So that we then cut back to Regan on the bed, and she is smiling. Something else to make note of, folks. I feel like compared to the book, our movie demon smiles a little bit more rarely. So we notice when it does, right? Book demons smiling all the time. Book demons having lots of fun. But movie demon, at least so far, seems... What did we decide? Like he was annoyed at Karis when they were talking about the straps. Like maybe it's too early to draw these comparisons just yet. But like, what was our like main impression? Like when we first meet this demon,
that he is annoyed. He feels disrespected, I suppose. Right.
Right. It's almost more like the feeling I got was that for this demon, it's hard to be a possessor, and he is tired, and he has had a long day of spit and pea soup and harassing the inhabitants of this house and throwing things around, and now comes Karis, and like just that wonderful shot of him first opening the door, and she barely turns to look at him like, oh, what do you want? Right? Like, I'm tired right now.
Just one more thing coming in here.
Yeah. I mean,
they don't
not
set
God.
up right, anti-God. Yeah. They don't set up a TV, right? They don't. I don't think they have a TV in this house. Yeah. Crazy.
Sheesh. It's like of all the times I could, in history that I could apparate and possess somebody, and I get somebody without cable. God,
how am I supposed to watch Steve Harvey?
Right. Or Robin Williams. I mean, everyone is a fan of Robin Williams, folks, right? Even the demons. He's dressed as an old lady. But yeah, so in any case, right, this demon is smiling now as he says, "Your mother's in here with us, Karis. Would you like..." Actually, no, this is not even menacing like that. It's like, right. Just very like matter of fact. It's like, "Your mother's in here with us, Karis. Would you like to leave a message? I'll see that she gets it." One of the iconic lines of the film. Now, Keenan, you had said earlier that you had taken this as maybe an implication that Mary Karis was now in hell, and that is now maybe like a new thing for Karis to be worried about. Like, was I getting that correctly?
I think it'd be something to think about, yeah, and certainly that's what the demon might be trying to imply. Well, he will say later, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell."
Right.
So, right. but this is something that had occurred to me as I was thinking about that in our last minute, and I got excited. Like, no, let's think about this the next time when we heard Vinnie Russell's voice. So, who are the people that the demon is bringing out? It's it's Mary Karis, right?
Right.
Burke Dennings, right? And then we have Vinnie Russell. Who Karis doesn't know from Adam, right? He just sees him on the street, etc. I think in the book it might imply that he sees him often, and then that might be why he gives him the $1 or something like that.
No, I don't. I never got that.
Oh, okay. But anyway, so he doesn't really know this homeless guy. And we don't know what happens to the homeless guy. So is it potentially that the homeless man has died? In the interim, where now that he's dead, Pazuzu has the power to sort of think about this guy and to convey this person and to use his voice, if it were, and that Ebenezer Scrooge Karis doesn't give him the $1, and then he goes and dies later that day or that week.
Oh my God! So, I like this take. This is a very interesting take, actually. And one other thing I noticed about like the people that you brought up, I'm only thinking about it now, but the demon only speaks in voices of people that, like, if the person hears it, they would feel horribly guilty.
Right. That's the demon's superpower. Right.
He's not like if somebody else had like died of natural causes or something like that, right? Like he's not speaking about that. He's not speaking in that person's voice, right? Only like it's an accusatory thing. It's like this person is dead because of you.
Right. Yes. So even, we're not going to find out. Kinderman's not going to tell us about the homeless guy he never heard about and solve the mystery of the homeless guy, right? But it might be planting seeds in Damien's head later, right? It's sort of a long play that the demon is doing, where once Damien starts to accept that this is a demon who is in some kind of communication, or that's like at least the feint of it, that I'm in some kind of communication with your mother, and here she is, and I have her with us, right? That also this guy that you didn't give your last $1 to, as Christ would command you, is now now in hell because of you.
Oh, I like that. I like that idea.
I was very excited when I thought about that during our last minute. We're like, no, we need to save that for later.
That is, oh no, but that is really good, because and that kind of goes into my whole, like, my whole big thing is that Captain Howdy is putting on a show. He's trying to prove he is that traditional devil of, like, the prosecuting attorney who is trying to prove a point. And this is Vinnie Russell is Exhibit A,
right?
And Burke Dennings is Exhibit B, and Mary Karras is Exhibit C. It's like, look at, these are why you suck,
right?
Like, this is why you should feel bad, and you should feel bad. Shame on you,
right?
And I'm going to speak in the voice of your mom. I'm going to speak in the voice of the homeless guy you didn't help, and for Chris, I'm going to speak in the voice of her best friend,
right?
Whom she allowed her daughter to kill.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's so, oh wow, oh, I love that. That is chef's kiss, beautiful.
Yeah, spine chilling. Yeah. But yeah, I think definitely, the implication that Pazuzu is saying, okay, and your mother is in hell, or her soul is in danger.
Yeah. Oh, I really, really like that. Yeah. And now speaking to just that. So I just want to, like, focus on that one little bit out of everything that we just talked about, because that is something that, for me. So what I'm talking about is the possibility that Mary Karras could be in hell,
right?
That any of these characters could be in hell, that Regan might be in danger of going to hell. Right now, for me, I don't think that possibility ever entered my mind. I always took it as, right, she's, Mary Karras is here inside Regan along with Burke, and also now the homeless guy. And that was, like, separate in my mind from being in hell. And something actually he says a little bit later, just to jump ahead a little bit, when he admits that he is not the devil in the book, right? He says he's simply a devil, right? He says to Karras, after that, he's like, oh, I'm not the devil, I'm just a devil. You won't mention my slip of the tongue to our Father in hell when you see him. And Karras is like, oh, is he here? And Howdy's like, in the pig? Oh, no. It's just us. And us meaning, like, me, Regan, Burke, your mom, right? So there's even a moment in the actual exorcism also when the demon turns to Karras and starts talking to him in Burke's voice, begging not to be exorcised because what does he say? It's like, good housing is so hard to find these days, right? And he refers to Captain Howdy as their landlord.
Oh, now the landlord is the enemy of the people on Facebook right now. I don't know if you've seen.
Oh yes.
So sorry, listeners, if you are a landlord and you make your living that way, we're going to stay out of that debate. But that is that is the enemy, like, say, like an insurance company used to be, like, 10 years ago. And now it's the landlord.
Yeah. And living in LA and having to pay rent, I have my own opinions about these things. And having, I don't know, problems like a swarm of bees on my balcony right now. I don't know which ancient Mesopotamian spirit I pissed off, but yeah, and we've been calling our landlord, and so what they have done so far is they have put up a sign saying, "Watch out for the bees."
But bees can't read.
Keenan, who are you to make assumptions about bees?
No, they need to send a little guy down to dance for the bees to communicate, because that's how bees communicates, by smells and dance.
Well, that hasn't happened yet because we haven't filled out the complaint form properly and put it in the mailbox to be
in the mailbox. Oh yeah. My God.
The mailbox, which is right outside the landlord's room. Can't just give it to him. Yeah. So, we've fallen into the landlord trap, which is where I am permanently,
right,
folks.
Which means our house. Yeah. I was trying to stay out of the politics of it, Lester. But yes, if you aren't aware of that, go check it out. The landlord is the enemy of the millennial online right now.
Yeah. So little joke there. I don't know what the what the political climate is regarding landlords back in the 1970s. But yeah, so the Burke Dennings who may or may not exist inside Regan jokes about Captain Howdy being their landlord.
Right, but I don't know if it's ever been nice. Like Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment kills his landlord, So I don't think they've ever been necessarily a popular idea.
Like a tax collector, going all the way back to like biblical,
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure Jesus loves landlords and tax collectors, and
Oh yeah, he loves money changers. Jesus, yeah. There's no indication that he didn't think moneylenders belonged in the church. That's sarcasm. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, yeah. But it doesn't mean I have to love them. Anyway, well, no, I guess.
I guess you were commanded to, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Fine,
Jesus.
Your mother doesn't suck cocks in hell, right? I'm doing the Bart Simpson on the chalkboards. Like, his mother doesn't suck cocks in hell. All right. But anyway, okay. So, yeah. So we were talking about, landlords. But yeah, so funny little thing, that happens a little bit later. And then, so getting back to this like idea of possession and the dangers of hell, right? Associated with possession, right? I think we talked about this before, but it was always my understanding, and fellow Catholics, let me know if I'm wrong here, that even within the belief of possession, like baked into the possession belief, is the idea that the demon can only hurt your body and it can't actually get to your soul. So even Catholics who believe in the devil and possession understand that there's no danger of the devil stealing your soul. The devil can't steal your soul. He doesn't have that power. He can only convince you to give it to him. And that's why the whole like Faustian contract and the promise of riches on this earth and all that stuff, right? He's trying to get you to willingly give over your soul.
But he could tempt you into doing things that would put your soul in jeopardy. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay,
right.
Great.
Yeah. But it's like, it's the way that I understand it, right? It's those rules. It's like, you have to know that you are doing wrong. Know that you are turning against God or turning away from God, and still do it for your own benefit, like for riches, like for, eternal youth or whatever, right? Like you have to willingly turn your face away.
Yeah. The only time I've really believed that of a character to say they wanted to go to hell is in Wuthering Heights. And I'm bringing up Crime and Punishment and Wuthering Heights, aren't I? Such a smarty pants today. Yeah. But what's his name? Oh God, now I can't remember his name. But David Niven's character in the movie
is so smart. And
I want to say it is Hinton. I believe it's Hinton, and because Kathy dies, and then he says like he has this tiny little monologue where he's like, now that Kathy's dead, the love of my life, my wife, right? Like I want to be in hell. Like I've experienced it on earth, and I'd rather be in hell than wait for until I die to see her. Like it hurts me so much. And that's like one of the few times where I believe that, because oftentimes when it's riches or something, I'm like, if you really believe in hell, I don't really understand why you would trade it for gold.
These people aren't that smart. Right?
Oh, okay.
Faust is no, I'm agreeing with you. It's like that's a pretty dumb thing. Like
right.
You're like, you must believe in hell because you're literally signing the devil's contract.
Right. Exactly. If you believe in it, then it's such a clear bargain, right? Like, right. So the only time I've
Faust
ever
just like signing his name and the devil looking at it was like, you're a fucking idiot. Like,
and Faust's like, I know.
Yeah, sure. But like however many more years I have on this earth, I'm gonna have a real good time.
Right. Yeah.
And I can just see Mephistopheles sitting across. It was like, but forever, like forever.
Right. We're legally obligated to remind you forever, yada, yada, yada. It's here in the contract.
I've already done the legalese. But I'm just, you're a fucking idiot. And believe it or not, folks, this goes into like my whole characterization of Captain Howdy, and I'm excited to talk about that. But so this isn't in my notes, Keenan, but you brought this up. You brought the idea of the Wuthering Heights character,
whose name is Edgar Linton. I didn't look it up. No, I did. Of course, I did.
Remembered it.
I remembered it. Yes. I said Hinton, but it's Linton. Yes. Yeah. Kathy's husband. Yeah.
But like him, like damning himself to hell.
Right.
And that made me think think of when I was in Hong Kong, I was in a production of, have you ever heard of this play, The Last Days of Judas Iscariot?
Oh, no, just from you, I think. Yeah, when you had just come back from Hong Kong, we were talking about it.
And it was I played not the devil's lawyer, but I played a lawyer of the damned, but my part's not important in this. Like my favorite part of this thing is they're having this trial about it's after the fact, right? Judas is in hell, and they're having this trial about whether or not he deserves to be in hell, and all of that, spoilers, guys, if you skip ahead, but like all of that kind of comes to nothing because we find out that Judas is in hell because he believes that he deserves to be in hell. And they even they bring the devil in, like, as a, they call him to the witness stand, and he says like he can leave anytime he wants. Frankly, I wish he would, right? I need the real estate, right? He's taken up too much space, right? And the end, Jesus actually appears to Judas in hell, and and like basically like tries to convince him. It's this beautiful go and see a production of this play, this dialogue between Jesus and Judas, and Jesus saying like, I love you, you need to come with me now, and Judas screaming at him, it's like why couldn't you make me good enough to love you,
right?
And it's so beautiful. But that kind of goes with the idea that and I think this is a larger part of a lot of these religions, is that before you can kind of get out of your own kind of like personal damnation, you also have to forgive yourself. You also have to accept the fact that God forgives you, right? It's not just I did this horrible thing and I'm going to live with it forever. And it's like several levels, right? Like it's not like, oh, I did this horrible thing, but God will forgive me and I don't feel sorry. You have to feel sorry, but then you also have to acknowledge the fact that you are saved,
right?
Which was a real kind of like somersault for me to kind of like get through my head, back when I was like much younger, is the idea that yes, you have to feel like truly and completely sorry and repentant for a thing, but then also accept the forgiveness that you're being given, right? According to this religion. And if you can't accept that, right, it goes into, and again, like, Keenan, you've opened up the floodgates.
Oh
here.
No!
But no, going back to the hell trap, but like with a happier message, right?
We're bringing a happy message out of the hell trap.
Yes, but no. Have you seen What Dreams May Come?
Oh, yeah, when I was a child. That's Robin Williams again.
The Robin Williams movie, right? Yeah. So, but like he dies. Spoilers, guys. Again, he dies and he ends up in heaven. And then he finds out that his wife has committed suicide,
right,
and is in hell. And he sort of challenges God or the angel or like just kind of like a representative. And he says, that is so cruel. Why would you, I'm summarizing, folks, but like he says, like, why would you send her to, like, she was a good person. Like, why is she in hell now? And this representative of God says, no. Like, we didn't do that. Like, where her head is right now, where her like headspace is now, that's where she believes she belongs. So it's a self-inflicted thing. And I love that idea of like hell being a state of mind, hell being a like after you die, your I don't know, mental state just becomes the place. And because she couldn't forgive herself, because she was, feeling the way she was feeling, of course, that's where she's going to end up. Right. And so then the story of the movie is Robin Williams has to go down and kind of like save her by telling her how wonderful she is and what a wonderful life they had. And, and I'm not going to give it away, but, to what you're saying, Keenan, that's a really, like, if there is a hell, which I don't necessarily believe, like, that's what I want to believe it is like. It is the struggle for us to stay out of it, is while we're on earth. And it's more than just like avoiding doing bad things, but like getting right in our own minds and our own hearts. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I really
that
like
sounds a little bit more like, well, in Islam it is also a literal place, but there is the struggle, oh God, what's that word? The jihad.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, that is the jihad, where you are struggling with yourself and putting yourself in the right place. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like that kind of concept.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that goes into like the devil kind of like convincing you and tricking you into, it's like, there you go. Like even after like doing all these bad things, I can see him getting to Chris and Karis and Regan in that way. It's like, look at all of these horrible things you did. You don't deserve heaven. You don't deserve salvation. You agree with me, right?
Yeah.
Just agree with me, right? Like
in writing. Here, put it right in your blood.
Yeah. But I think that just like, I think his objective, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, is to make you fully and completely believe that you are unworthy.
Right.
So going back to like for Karis to be worried that his mother is in hell, right? Like as a priest struggling with his faith, right? Like he'd first have to accept the fact that there is a devil and a God, and then that this girl is possessed, and then like somehow jump over the rules about the devil within his own faith, right? So he'd have to believe in the devil, but not believe what the church says about the devil not being able to like snatch you away.
Right.
Yeah. But then again, Keenan, you could also just be right, just because we have established that this is a man who is able to believe that there is no God, but also that he, Karis, is unworthy of that, not God. Right? He lets both of these things torment him at the same time. So much like time and space mean nothing to Captain Howdy, and he keeps making references to recording things on phones, right? Logic seems to mean nothing to Karis as long as he can make himself feel bad, right?
What just occurred to me? We might have to explain to our younger listeners just very briefly about leaving a message, which is not for a voicemail. This is for an answering machine.
Yes,
which was on literal tape. It was on magnetic tape. And so, everyone had an answering machine. I don't know in the 70s whether everybody did. Sometimes people would have phone answering services that if you you could leave the house and then basically forward your number. Wait, that's not how it worked. You would have an answering service where if you couldn't get a hold of the person at home, you could then call a different service and leave a message for them there. And then you would call. Then you would have to like call into the answering service and get your messages from people. So basically like a secretary that you would sort of forward this to this company. Then we were replacing those with answering machines, and everyone had their answering machine, and then you would have to record your own voice for it. I don't know the demographics of our listeners, so I hope this isn't just ridiculous, but you would have to like record your own outgoing message and say like, hey, this is Lester and Keenan and we're not home right now, and make little stupid songs and stuff. And so that's what Captain Howdy is referencing here.
This was a point of like this is how I represent my personality. This was like the clothes you wear, the music you listen to, and also the voice message prompt on your answering machine is like, oh, that's so Lester, right?
Right. Oh, I can't believe Lester just says, hi, this is Lester. I'm sorry I missed your call. Leave a message for me and get back to you soon. And be like, what?
That's so vanilla.
Right? You get judged for it.
Right? Odds are, if I had an answering machine, I would do... Well, actually, Keenan, how many answering machine messages back in the day do you think started with, your mother's in here with us?
Oh, a lot of them. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That became a phenomenon,
joke of the 80s and the 90s,
right? Exactly. So in case we have any younger listeners, just to point out what that is, yes.
Right. And then after that, we got pagers, which you would think that was like, that's a little thing that you carry around with you, right? So you would think it's like, oh yeah, you just call somebody's pager and you can talk to them. No. The pager just adds an extra little step telling you that somebody tried to call you. And then you ask the pager, well, pager, can I talk to them? And they're like, no. You got to go home and call them back. Well, did they leave a message? No. Or yes, but you got to go home.
But the way a page, sorry, so if you're young, you don't remember this. So the way a pager would work is that you would call and you would call the pager. So you have a different phone number for your phone at home and a phone number for the pager. So you would call the pager and it would say, what number would you like me to put on the pager to have them call you back? And so sometimes you usually put your number, but sometimes if it was like your wife or something, you would leave codes instead. So you would say, hey, if I picked up Jimmy at practice, I don't need you to pick him up, I'll leave 777 or something like that. And so you can just type that in. And so if you were also like cheating on your husband or wife or something, you could leave, rather than your real number, you could leave a fake number. And so then when your wife sees your pager and tries to call it, it would be a Domino's or something. Sneaky. So I'm giving you all sorts of adultery advice for 1987. So if you find yourself back in time, that's how to cheat on your wife properly.
Man, wait till Captain Howdy figures out about pagers. It's like, oh, this is, but none of that 777 stuff. I got another number. That's,
Captain Howdy, you're a rascalable.
It's 666. Yes, we know Captain Howdy.
Captain Howdy.
We saw that coming a mile away, really, because that's the number of the beast. Yes.
You and your beast.
Oh boy, but yeah. So like like I was saying, I think anybody who believes in possession and demons like kind of like entering into you and everything like that, also just kind of like with that goes like the limitations of the devil in this respect, right? I think those are like so well known to the people who believe in demonic possession that they're probably less scared of that than a person who just found out about possession. It's like one of those like 80s movies where like a kid tries to convince his best friend that their teacher is a vampire, and then midway through the movie the kid like discovers that it's true and he starts freaking out, but it's like the middle of the day, so the first kid is like, no, relax. Right? It's like, I was trying to tell you about vampires. I know about vampires. They got rules, right? So if you just found out, like if you're watching The Exorcist and you don't know like the actual religious kind of like basis that it comes from, you might actually be forgiven to think it's like, oh, like Regan's soul is at stake. No.
Right.
Like anybody who like actually believes this and takes this seriously, like if they were raised Catholic or whatever, they know that Regan's soul isn't in danger, right?
Right.
But that doesn't make it like a whole lot better. There's still a lot of bad stuff happening.
Well, like Mrs. Peacock says in Clue, what are you afraid of? A fate worse than death? No, just death. Isn't that enough?
Yeah. I thought you were going to quote, it's like, because the guy comes in, it's like, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, right? Like at the door. Right. It's like, but your souls are in danger. It's like, our lives are in danger, you beatnik.
Exactly.
Wonderful. We brought Clue back.
Yes.
Eileen Brennan here.
Yes.
The power of a candidate.
Eileen Brennan, who's in The Sting, which beat The Exorcist, so fuck her, I guess.
Yeah, what are we doing? Giving airtime to Eileen Brennan here.
To Robert Redford and the other.
Get her out of here. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, actually, Keenan, I wanted to talk about this. This like exact thing is addressed in that extra scene on those steps with Father Merrin and Father Karras. Damien basically asks. He says, if the devil can't steal your soul, then what is the point of possession? And again, folks, I cannot wait to get into that scene, because Father Merrin gives him an answer that basically explains Captain Howdy's plan, his motivation behind this whole thing, and also why Howdy is doomed to fail. And that goes with my thesis as well. If you'll remember in our Mother's Day episode, I say I believe Captain Howdy lost before the exorcism even starts. And yeah, I think it's unavoidable. I think in this episode with the introduction of the pea soup, I can finally get into what I think is the bigger picture of what's going on. So sit tight for that. Yes, pea soup is a big part of my argument, believe it or not. Yeah. But yeah, so Captain Howdy says this. Your mother is in here with us. Would you like to leave a message? And we cut and we get this very cruel smile from Linda Blair here. And it's like, I guess here is where the book and movie Howdies align, right? Like when they're talking about Karras's mother, this is the venomous diagram of book Howdy and movie Howdy. And the middle is making jokes about Demi's mom.
Everybody loves making fun of Demi's mom.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's, this is, we got a Demi's mom off. I don't know.
Yeah, they're basically your mama jokes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, That's like, your mama's so dead.
Well, there you go.
That's it. That's, Hey, folks, he's no Gilbert Gottfried, folks. I mean,
right.
you know.
Yeah, I was going to say we just did Gilbert Gottfried, but even then, I think Yo Mama jokes are falling out of favor, right? Because they're usually like misogynistic or ageist or whatever.
Right.
But
yeah.
I love a good Yo Mama joke.
Yeah. But yeah. So now we cut to Dimmy and we see that he is shook, as the kids say. And I know I just said I don't think it's because he's worried about Mary Karras being in hell. I think it's more that Regan or Howdy found him out.
Right.
Like she or he sees him, right? Like we were saying in previous minutes, right? Karras thought his grief was private, right? He thought he was safe from that kind of scrutiny, but to be known so quickly and easily by this child, and then the question, right? Is this a child, right? And then yeah, the question, how much does it know? Like, where is my mother right now, right?
Right.
And I think just the act of being found out, of being so naked and obvious in front of this demon, like not even your thoughts are safe. And again, it's like the opposite of a Clarence or a Christmas Carol ghost, where it's like, I see you, and I'm like, I see you, I understand you, and I'm here to help. Here, it's like, I see you, I understand you, and wow, you're pretty pitiful.
Right. But I mean, that is also the power of a teenage girl, right? As John Mulaney points out, like children can insult you in ways that, you think are private. And everyone who knows you and loves you, or at least respects you, just doesn't mention them. Right. But then children are the ones who are like, how come one of your eyelids is lower than the other eyelid? And you're like, no, or whatever thing that you're most afraid of people mentioning.
And folks, like, I teach middle schoolers, and believe me, like, the drama they bring into the classroom, it's like my best friend said this, or, these girls said this to another girl. And I'm like, you guys are monsters. Like,
you don't say like, but they're right. They're very accurate.
No, I mean that's one thing about anybody, like any parents or any kid. I hope there are no kids listening to this, but like, man, middle school is the gauntlet. It is tough. And if you can survive that, you've dealt with humanity's worst. Yeah. So, just like bring that confidence of you having survived that. You've been through the fire, right? Now, any coworker, any peer, any boss says anything to you, like you survived middle school, you're good. You have the armor to deal with that.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this actually reminded me. So I'm listening to a new podcast right now, folks, that I want to promote. It's called Apocrypals, which I love.
That's great.
And I'm slightly angry that I didn't think of that name. I was like, oh, that's a really good name. But it's two atheists who are just like reading through parts of the Bible, including the Apocrypha, which is like the non-canonical kind of like, I guess not accepted as canon parts of the Bible,
right?
Which is like much more like kind of like lots of like cool like monsters and mythology and stuff like that, and then also like parts of the actual like accepted canon Bible, and they're reading through it with the attitude of like, I guess, professors, just trying to like pick it apart and get meaning from it that way.
Very
it's
cool.
Really like historically, and it's like really cool, fascinating stuff. But they read this part in, I think it's the Book of Acts, where somebody was trying to cast out a demon, and the demon, like in the name of Jesus and in the name of Peter, right? I want you to come out. And the demon turns to this person and says, well, Jesus I know, and Peter I know, but who are you? And that just goes like so beautifully with our first meeting with Captain Howdy here, where like Karras comes to meet him, and Captain Howdy, the first thing that Captain Howdy says to Karras is, well, it's you, right? And he doesn't have to say anything else. It's just like you, right? And Karras takes that at any way he wants, right?
Right, exactly. It's bound to hurt you, however you take it.
Yeah. So the idea, and again, that just goes into, I think what this devil in this story is doing is trying to, break down your confidence and your defenses, like what you think of yourself. So Karras seems very troubled by this, right? His, your mother's in here with us, that thing. And his eyes go from Regan, and then they drop down, And as he turns to sit down, we see this little smile, which I don't think is a smile of confidence or self-assurance, but I think that is what it's meant to look like.
Right.
And perhaps Karras even thinks that's what it is. And so he says, if that's true, then you must know my mother's maiden name.
Mm-hmm. And that is the ultimate security password now, right? Or that's what it was. We have to move away from it because now you can find people's mother's maiden names places. Yes. So I was thinking about that. I was like that. But he's
if that's true, then you must know my mother's social security
number. Exactly. Right. And then Facebook. These things that go around Facebook and Twitter of like, hey, let's have fun, everybody. Tell us the name of your very first pet. Won't that be fun? And they go, well, I don't know if it's true, but people have been suspecting that those are, phishing operations to get this information from you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The name of the street you grew up on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether I believe that or not, but I mean, if I was someone who was, trying to nefariously collect other people's information,
right.
I mean, I can see Mephistopheles just looking. It's like people just throw their information at you today,
right?
They take pictures of what they're about to eat,
right? This is where we went on our first date. That's another security question.
Yeah,
and that information is out there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, like your information, like everything about you, like as secretive as you think and as private as you think you are, like not only is it online already, but it's online by you. Like you were the one who put it up there, right? Yeah. Wait, okay, but I mean that's interesting there because so in the book, he actually says you must know my mother's first name,
right?
Which is I'm trying to okay, Keenan. What do we make of this? Because I've heard something like it over countless stories where like power over someone lies in knowing not just their name, but their true name, what they would refer to as their true name, whether that be like their first name or their maiden name or their birth name, right? Like. And I think even biblically, religiously, names are things of power. And to know someone's name is to have some sort of dominion over them.
Because this is a period when those are, in these cultures, people would often have a pen name for sure, but also like a war name, right? A nom de guerre, where you might know me. If you're my enemy, you know me as this, but my people know me as this other name. And there'd be, ruler names, right? So sometimes you would become king and rule by another name, which I think we are becoming less familiar with because Charles, we're most familiar with the Windsors, right? In America, at least. So like Charles was Charles. He took the regent name Charles. Elizabeth was Elizabeth. And that was actually kind of shocking when Elizabeth II took Elizabeth as as her regent name because Elizabeth was this vaunted name. There's only Queen Elizabeth, right? Elizabeth I, the Great. So it was a little bit like, oh wow, that's kind of ruffling some. Not that they did anything about it, but it was expected that she would take a different name because of how important the name Elizabeth was to English culture, right?
Yeah. And again, I see this like all over the place, right? In other stories, in other religions, right? Even in Christianity, right? We don't have to go too far, right? In the Abrahamic religions, right? Names are a big thing, right? El Shaddai, one of my favorite songs, right? By the power of the name, right? God has many, many names, right? And then he has, one secret name, which is hidden from all of us, right? So in
well,
that
what
way,
is it?
Oh,
okay. It's a secret.
Right? No, nobody knows.
So literally it's nowhere. Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's unknowable.
Wow.
Right? And then like on the other side of that, you got and I guess this is where we're going here, the nature of names in relation to the demonic, right? But and that's a thing. Like I've heard it more from the reverse side, like in occult practices where people like actually believe in spirits and demons that you would summon them, you would do that by using their names. And there's this whole thing of like invoking versus evoking. Like when you invoke a demon, you're like inviting them to help you with something. You're basically calling upon them for help, right? Almost always with horrible repercussions, right? Like Faust invokes the help of Mephistopheles, right? We could say that Regan invokes Captain Howdy, right? Actually, okay, Beetlejuice is a perfect example, right? He is invited to work with the Maitlands by use of his name, which is Beetlejuice.
Which is what?
which is but yeah, so that's invoking, using a demon's name, right? Just remember, invoke, invite, right? And also, don't do it. That's the other thing to remember. Don't do it. And then you got evoking, which, according to certain branches of like magic that deal with demons and spirits, is more like binding the spirit to your will, essentially making them your slave. The genie from Aladdin is a perfect example of this, right? At some point before the events of Aladdin, someone somewhere found out the genie's true name and bound him to that lamp, right? The genie is actually a jinn, which in Islam, like, and we're going to get into more of this later, right? Jinn are actually the other race of beings that God created at the beginning of everything, right? He created angels out of light, and then he created the jinn out of the, some translations say a smokeless fire or a subtle fire, right? And just to clarify, folks, like jinn aren't demons. They're a completely different thing, which as far as I know, like the other two Abrahamic religions don't have, unless I'm mistaken.
They
right?
don't
And
have genies, or they don't have other...
They don't have. It's just like in the other, in Judaism and Christianity, it's angels and
right. Okay,
man,
I was going to say they have
right?
angels, right, who are around.
Oh, yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But like as far as I know, Islam is the only one with that third race of beings, the jinn, right? And they're not demons. Demons are demons are, I think, just like in the other Abrahamic religions, they are angels made of light who turned bad.
Right.
Yeah. And that's because of God's third creation, man. So God, or Allah, said, this is my greatest and my most beloved creation, and all you angels and all you jinn, just know that I love Adam and his children most of all, and you all have to help and protect and take care of them, and that's why I made you. And of course, there's that one angel, Iblis, who says, hell no, pun intended, and he turns away and he becomes the leader of the shaitan, which, sounds familiar. Shaitan, Hasatan, Satan, right? But yeah, it's all there. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute because it reinforces what I believe is Captain Howdy's big plan.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. This idea of the names also reminds me of the shibboleth, which is the this idea of in-groups and out-groups that's in the Bible. So that is a way of pronunciating the certain word.
Right? Yeah.
One of those is correct, yeah. But they asked this foreigner to pronounce a word, shibboleth. And they say, hey, are you one of them foreigners who's going to come in here and like we're on guard? Like, are you a spy or are you one of us? And he says, no. And they say, I'm one of you. And they give him this word, say what this is. And he says, sibboleth. And they say, no, this is a shibboleth, and kill you and kill all the men you're with and kill 40,000 of you, right? Because that is how they determine whether you're one of us or not.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cool.
It's not cool. They slaughter all the people, right? Exactly. Right. But what if you can't pronounce your shahs very well, and now they've slaughtered everybody? But yeah, that's an idea in Judaism and the Jewish Bible of the shibboleth, right? That words matter. That's the lesson that gets brought down from it. That there's a right way to pronounce things, and there's a right way to know things, basically.
That is really, really interesting. I like as I'm kind of like doing this deep dive into like angels and demons and things like that. I've heard other people referring to like the Hebrew language as a two-dimensional shadow of a three-dimensional structure.
Oh yeah,
and how it's used like in magic and the occult and everything like that. And like like Keenan, the golem is created by the power of a word, right? Like you write a word and you put it into the thing and it comes to life. I love the idea that like language like makes things happen,
right?
Right, like or and like so even just calling the name of God or like using it to protect yourself or something like that, or to order around a demon,
right?
Because
and
you're a sorcerer or whatever.
Some sects of Orthodox Judaism don't say God, and they don't spell God. They purposely do not say it, and they use a different name for God so that they're not actually saying God. Or they will. I don't know how it works in Hebrew, but in English they will do G-D, because even to write the name God is to I don't know if I don't want to I don't know whether how big of a sacrilege that is, but they say we're not trying to we can't reproduce what God is in the written word.
But I mean, like isn't like our word, the word that we use right now, God?
That's right.
Even though we capitalize it, isn't that a term used instead of like the true name.
Right.
Like,
and well, one of the true names is you're saying there's some secret name that's not Yahweh or Jehovah, right?
Right. So it's even more secret than that.
And it's not Hashem, right? It's even more secret than those, right? Yeah. If you get too close to it, it burns you, right? Or
right.
But yeah, so even that's why it's parts of Judaism, not all of them. But so in some Orthodox sects, right, that at some point even God, which was this not euphemism. I'm trying to think of the word that you're trying to think of too, right? It is a pseudonym of God, but that has become holy enough that we no longer say it.
Right. So just to be clear, like the word God, right?
They don't spell it. They never spell the whole thing or say the whole thing.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, it like, and I just like all of that stuff. Like folks, like I teach Japanese and German, and I'm a big language nerd. I love languages and just like the origin of words and the power of words, and then the power of names and things like that. I love that stuff, and I promise I'm going to be like geeking out about it in other episodes as well. And I probably already have. But yeah, just the idea of like names, right? But that's the thing, Keenan, is like so yeah, to get back to this, right? Like all that to say, this might be the first time right here where the idea of names and the knowing of true names has been reversed for me to where like the demon knowing Karis's mother's true name would prove that he has her or that he has power over her, right? Like in these stories, it always seems to be the other way around, right? Like the invocation of spirits and demons using their names, right?
A Rumpelstiltskin, right?
Oh, that's a perfect, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, that is a perfect example right there, right? Like all the power, like I'm going to make this deal with you. I'm going to do all these things for you, right? And the only way that you can kind of like overwrite it is by saying my name, right? But yeah, the way Karis says it here, right? It sounds like there's some bit of Catholic lore that I'm missing, like don't let the devil know your name, and that's fascinating to me. And I looked, but I couldn't find anything where like our names would be precious to demons and they would want to know our names so that they could like get us. Right.
But of course, changing it from the book where what's my mother's first name, that's a pretty easy password to get because like 25% of women at the time of Karis's generation were named Mary or Maria.
Blatty's
right. Blatty's mother is Mary, right? Everybody's mother is Mary of this generation. So
I mean, if you're Catholic, I mean, you could say everybody's mother is Mary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, Mary or Maria or Mary Jane or Mary Lynn or something. You should definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, that's enough. And now you've kind of put a scene into my head where it's like, your mother's in here with us. It was, if that's true, you should know my mother's first name. It's Mary. It's Mary.
Well, there are those charlatans who do that, right? They have a big crowd of people, and they're like, "I'm seeing somebody with the name of Jay," and everyone's like, "Oh, I know someone really special to me whose name is Jay, right? Is it James or Jonathan or Jim or Jimmy or Jason or Joshua or Jacob?" And like, right, Jessica.
How does he do that? My father's name is James Joshua Jessica.
And yeah, we want to be respectful of everyone's faiths on this show, but I'm not respectful at all to those people who charge people money and sell them false hope when they have no background in faith whatsoever. They're just pure charlatans, right? And they get people and they screen people out and they say, "Hey, are you in a place where you're really hurting right now? And could you they screen people specifically who are bound to or more inclined to be manipulated, and then they manipulate them in front of everybody, and then they make millions of dollars. And and they offer no actual hope to those people at all. So terrible people.
It's the exact opposite of like what a religion should be,
exactly.
Is like just taking advantage of your pain and your like ugh,
absolutely gross.
F those people. F Professor Marvel and his stupid little cart at the beginning of Wizard of Oz. F that guy. And the wizard because he's a fraud. Right? Spoiler alert.
They look a lot alike now that I think about it.
Yeah, they do. I've never seen them in the same place. I'll tell you that. One of them's like completely black and white. I don't know what that's all about. The other one's like green. This is weird. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So like back to this idea of like demons knowing your name and that gives them like an edge, right? The only story that I that I know of that actually comes close to that
Mhm.
is actually a children's book series, which I'm going to plug here, folks.
Yay.
If you're interested in demons and you also want something a little bit aesthetically darker than Harry Potter and also a lot more inclusive and less racist and transphobic, I want to recommend the criminally lesser known series by Jonathan Stroud, that's Stroud, called the Bartimaeus series, which is set in London, much like Harry Potter, with a separation of magicians who are basically the aristocracy and the government, and then commoners who could do magic, but they are forbidden, right? It's like I guess keeping a tab on like literacy levels, right? And it's more a statement on the class system. But it is told in large part from the perspective of a demon. And he is summoned by this kid who has bitten off like way more than he can chew by summoning this demon Bartimaeus. And this kid accidentally lets slip his real name. And so now they're basically kind of like handcuffed to each other. They're like, well, you know my name and I know your name. I guess we got to work together, even though we hate each other. And yeah, it's a kid's book series, so you can kind of guess what happens in the end. It's very sweet. I love it. 10 out of 10. Go read it. If you want Harry Potter mixed with The Exorcist as a kid's book series, go check it out.
I didn't know I needed that, but it sounds like I do. The Bartimaeus series. Great.
The Bartimaeus series, yeah. But yeah, okay, so back to this movie. So the way that Karras says that line here, right? He says, if that's true, then you must know my mother's maiden name. He says it like, okay, all right, I'll humor you. But then there's like a pause after that. And he sort of looks down and inward like, am I really going to ask this, right? Like, am I prepared for an answer? And then he asks, what is it? And again, that waiting look, like when he said, why not make the straps disappear? You get this like little, like twinkle in his eye, right? But not a good twinkle. It's like, what did I just like ask for, right? Like, am I about to get an answer that I don't want, right? And here again, same thing. We get an unsatisfactory answer, right? We've cut to Regan and she is looking at him. Captain Howdy is looking at him out of that face. Keenan, what are we supposed to think here? Like, I wonder if, because it's us, right? And we're trying to give more characterization to Captain Howdy here than is maybe on the screen. What's this look right here? Is it like, oh shit, he called my bluff? Or is it like, you impudent human, right? Like, is it supposed to be like unreadable in the way that like a wild animal is looking at you? Like you really can't tell what's going on.
Yes, I love this look. It is emotionally ambiguous, right? The Kuleshov effect, as we talked about, just sort of a blank slate. Again, with the Kuleshov effect, it's not that nothing is happening. Something is happening on Linda Blair's face that we don't know what it is. And we can put all sorts of things there. We, as we were talking in the last minute about what his motivations are, et cetera, what Captain Howdy's motivations are. Here, you could read it a million different ways, right? I love it. Oh, you caught me. Yeah, exactly. All the things you talked about. You caught me, or oh, I'm gonna delight in ruining you with the next thing I do. Like all sorts of really super cool stuff here.
Yeah,
it is anything we want it to be.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, so now Karras is invested, right? He's like, you brought my mother into this. Let's go. Let's do it. He gets up from the chair and he walks over. All the while, our camera is trained right up on his face. So we don't see anything else, right? But we can feel the crossing of the room. And all the while, his eyes are trained on that thing in the bed, right? This may be, I'm realizing now, the longest he has ever held someone's gaze. I want that to be true, right? Like,
right.
This may be, I'm aware this may be like a Hannibal Lecter blinking, thing. Like, I might be incorrect about this. I'll have to go back and check. But at the very least, it struck me, he does not turn away like he does in so many other scenes, right? His eyes do not falter as he says again, what is it? And then we cut to... Now, this would be Eileen Dietz here, right? Behind all that makeup, like a really good job. Like you wouldn't be able to tell unless you were watching it like we were minute by minute,
like psychopaths.
Right? Frame by frame. Yeah, like psychopaths, right? Like Hannibal Lecter not blinking, right?
You say it's Eileen Dietz. I will believe you, but this is such a good job by Dick Smith and Eileen Dietz and Friedkin and Owen Royce-Minogue, all the people who create a character. Right. I believe it. I believe it's Linda Blair. I guess, yes. I suppose if you tell me this is Eileen Dietz, I'll go, yeah, sure, that's Eileen Dietz.
The only thing, and again, this is just me, folks. It seems a little different. Just the facial structure seems a little bit different, a little bit more adult, a little bit, I don't know, a little less chubby and cheruby, right? And then also, I was watching a YouTube video where Eileen Dietz was like, she was in an interview and she was like talking with a bunch of people, and they're like, "Hey, let's watch all of your, your best scenes from The Exorcist."
Right.
And this shot right here came up, right? Not the next shot, which is definitely her, but like this one also. And I don't know if that was like a mistake on their part. That Eileen Dietz just kind of like let slip in there. It's like, oh yeah, that's me also.
But this is, I timed it. This is 13 frames before the puke comes out. So that is slightly more than half a second. So, so we're looking, so we're looking at her and we're like, okay, this is her, et cetera. But yeah, I didn't even think and notice about who it would be until we're trying to break the movie, basically.
Yeah. It is. Now that's the weird thing. Like, it is very quick.
Right.
And yet, much like the quote unquote subliminal flashes that we've, seen previously of like the Captain Howdy face,
right.
I feel like today it lingers just a hair longer than if the same type of shots were used today. Right? Like, you can do like 3 Tyler Durdens in the time it takes to do like one Captain Howdy face. You know what I mean? Like Captain Howdy, like they call it, it's like this is the like the advent of like subliminal messaging, but like Captain Howdy stays on there pretty long compared to like Tyler Durden, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like here too, we see Eileen Dietz just a little too clearly, and we even cut back to her, and it's like, okay, like after she's puked and she's kind of like coughing and spluttering, but like enough is going on, and what's going on is shocking enough to where they were able to get away with it.
Right. And the sound and everything. I mean, so yeah, I totally buy it. It totally distracts me. And I do want to point out that this is TVYNS, the version you've never seen. And so this first shot of her puking, this has been done with CG and stuff, which is unfortunate.
Really?
Yeah, if you look at it frame by if you look at it frame by frame. Now, I've been trying to track down. This is why I hate these director's cuts, etc. Is that I've been trying to track down the original version of this and can't quite find it online. I suppose I could, I don't know, probably pay a lot of money to get the original version on a DVD or something, or pirate it, which I don't want to do necessarily. But but yeah, they have redone this first blast of puke with CG for sure.
Oh,
I'll send you some screenshots where you can definitely tell the difference in 1 or 2 frames. Yeah.
Aw, dang it! I don't like.
It's TVYNS, baby.
George Lucas did.
It is exactly that way. Yeah. So yeah. Just we've said this way at the beginning about the version you've never seen versus the original. But this is literally at within the same time period that they're doing TVYNS as George Lucas is going back and making the special editions, and in Spielberg is thinking about replacing the guns in ET. Like, this is of that same time period.
Oh God!
So it's all of the same impulse.
Jar Jar Binks is in here with us, Karis.
Misa just happy to be invited.
Would you like to leave? No, I wouldn't.
I would not.
No.
Yeah, I'll send you some screen grabs.
Wait a minute, come back. Okay. He's running. He's like, no. I got more tauntauns in the background. Wait, Karis, come back. Darth Vader screams no in this one. Somehow. No, Lester. No, that's the end. Not even Captain Howdy would do that. No. But yeah. Now, okay. Keenan, let's talk about this apparatus, okay? Which both actors had to wear.
Eileen Dietz and Linda Blair.
Eileen Dietz and Linda Blair had to wear this. I think there is some like recordings of Eileen Dietz saying that it was made specifically for her, and I think this is where we get kind of the back and forth of who did what and like how much was Eileen Dietz and how much was Linda Blair. But you do have these 2 actors saying different things, but like I'm going to go ahead and believe that both of them had to do it, because we see other scenes. Where vomit is kind of like just like pouring out of Linda Blair's mouth, right? Like, and
right. So they both did it.
Yeah.
They both wore the apparatuses. They both spit this stuff out. If Eileen Dietz is remembering that she had one specifically made for her, that's true, because that's the way that Dick Smith worked. He made individually molded apparatuses, right? He made ones that were on your face specifically. So he didn't just invent makeup pieces and say, stick this on and we'll hope that it matches. That wasn't the way he worked. Yeah.
Right. Again, we were talking about facial structure. Like Linda Blair is not going to wear Eileen Dietz's vomity thing.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk about this thing. I wouldn't say that I have a fear of choking, but this thing terrifies me. I don't think as an actor I would be able to do it. From what I understand, it is a thing that goes deep into your mouth, like into the back of your throat already. No. And it's held in place by these like two plastic wings, these two clear plastic like flanges that grip the side of your mouth on the outside, and that is also where the hoses on either side of the of her face would go in and then back all the way to that spigot in the back of her throat. So, folks, like imagine like a horse's bit. Right. Except, right. Yeah.
And imagine you using it in a human mouth, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're back to the horseman again. But yeah, so imagine a horse's bit, except in the middle of the part where you bite down on, you have like a faucet head,
right,
or like a spigot, but it's not poking out of your mouth. It's like inverted. It's going deeper into your mouth and down your throat. And then the tubes on either side of your face are going in and down your throat and connecting to that spigot. And then they shoot back out. That sounds horrible. I'm like, my throat is closing up like right now, just talking about it. It's like, ugh.
Now I've puked on camera. Have you?
No, I have not.
So, the way that we use condensed milk, which was perfectly fine for what we had to do. But, you could also do like they were like, oh, do you, how chunky do you want this? Right. Do you want to see a bit to this? I'm like, I don't think we need that just based on what the shot is. I'm like, great. So luckily, it's easy enough to fake, even with condensed milk, which is sweet. It's just such a strange texture in your mouth that it's easy enough to fake like it's bitter, even though it is actually sweet in there. So, I put some in, I not drank some, but I put some in my mouth and then was able to, smile and act like there was nothing in my mouth enough so that I could puke on camera. But that's not what they're doing here. They're trying to go from 0 to 100 in the right?
Yeah. This is like, and this is the projectile.
Right. That's true. This is projectile.
We gotta shoot it at it.
Right.
And yeah, so, and like we said, like both Linda Blair and Eileen Dietz, had to wear this, and they both say that when they had this thing in, they couldn't close their mouths.
Right.
Of course, right? And Linda Blair actually said in an interview that she was scared because she knew, like deep down, she knew that if she like closed her teeth, like if her teeth touched, then the spigot head would break and backfire down.
Oh, terrible!
Like, But yeah, so that's how they got that effect. And we'll post some BTS stuff on the, well, not some BTS stuff, right? Like some behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
Not that famous band that everybody except me knows. I mean, of course I know. Yeah,
of course you do. Yeah, you're hip. You're with it.
Yeah. Bulletproof stuff.
Oh God! Wait! Hold on. Give me a second. I am remembering. Bulletproof Boy Scouts. Of course, it doesn't work because it's Korean.
Of course, it doesn't work in English.
Right, it's Korean.
Yeah. Right. So it does. The acronym does work in Korean.
Bangtan Sonyeondan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which I'm not. I'm sure,
Perfect.
But yes.
Yeah. So that's BTS. But no, we're not going to post any BTS stuff. We're going to post some behind-the-scenes stuff, and we'll see this apparatus and all that stuff. Yeah. Now, for our next shot, where Regan is not in frame, we're trained on Karras, and they did him dirty here. I mean, like, not Karras, but like Jason Miller.
Right.
Well, they did Karras dirty here, too. You know about this thing, Keenan?
Oh, yes. Can I read to you from the screenplay for a second here?
Yes.
Okay, a reading from the screenplay of Blatty. Another angle, Regan Demon. Incidentally, your mother is here with us, Karras. Do you wish to leave a message? I will see that she gets it. And Karras is suddenly dodging a projectile stream of vomit, leaping out of his chair so that only his hand and portion of his sweater are hit. The demonic entity laughs mockingly. If that's true, then you must know my mother's maiden name. What is it? So in the screenplay, we just get a little bit on his sweater and a little bit on his hand, and he has dodged it enough, right?
He dodges it.
And then the conversation continues on as if we haven't had a scene-ending major change.
Yeah, that's actually that's as you read it, Keenan. That's exactly how it is in the book, right? The vomit happens first, and then in response to what is my mother's maiden name or first name, she just doesn't answer. She just starts making animal noises.
Right. Like a cobra, like a steer, it says in the screenplay. So cobra, steer, pig together. Yeah.
Yep. All of those things. Yeah. But, well, actually, yeah. And Keenan, like, what do you think? Like, would you prefer? I mean, this is a nice button to this scene, right?
It certainly
is. This is a good way. This is Captain Howdy's argument. It's like, this is what I think.
Scene over.
Yeah. And scene. I can't do the thing with the hands because my hands are tied.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I actually kind of like that. It's just like, bleh, and it's like, that's what I think.
Now,
right? Like that's his answer.
I do like that Karras gets this stuff all over him. I mean, that is good. So as much as, it is dirty how they did it to Jason Miller, and I am all for consent for things like this.
Right.
Yes, that it is good. It's very good in the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, what Keenan is talking about. So for this shot, they didn't need Linda Blair or Eileen Dietz, right? They just had a camera, trained on Jason Miller, and they had a guy out of frame with a pea soup gun, essentially, like a super soaker, like a pea super soaker. No, that's terrible, right? It was like Orson Welles. No, pea super soaker. That's terrible. Right. Animaniacs, folks. That's the reference.
Full of green penis. Yes.
But yeah, so for this shot, the whole time leading up to it, they told Jason Miller, they said, like, look, she's going to spit vomit on you and it's going to hit you in the chest.
Right.
And then apparently at the last minute, Friedkin goes over to the guy with the pea super soaker. And he says, actually hit him in the face. One take. That's the one they used. So the surprise and the revulsion and the anger on not Karras, but Jason Miller's face.
It gets in his mouth.
It gets in his mouth. Because once again, Friedkin lied. Friedkin lied to and used his actors in this horrible way that he seems to like doing. Right.
Yes.
Like, I can't remember if this is if this instance or the gun instance a little bit later is when like Jason Miller actually like gets up in his face and shouts, "It's like I'm an actor, right? That's why you hired me. You don't need to do these stupid, crazy things, right?" Because he was so angry that Friedkin was trying to like essentially trick a performance out of him, right? Like, and thinking of it now, like that's got to be, like that's insult to injury right there, because not only are you putting someone in danger or hurting them or humiliating them in this way, like you're also saying essentially, I don't trust you to do a good enough job on your own.
Right.
Absolutely. And so like while I agree with Keenan that this shot is a good shot, like it should have hit him in the face rather than in the chest. I also believe like Jason Miller should have known beforehand. I trust him to act. You know?
If you and I are working this, right, and I'm Friedkin and you're Miller, right, like you could achieve this by saying, hey, Lester, we're going to do one where it's on the chest, like it says in the script. Then we're going to do a couple where we're not going to tell you what's going to happen with this, right? Right. Yeah. You'd be like, cool, that's fun. Right. Yes. Like that's great. That's a wonderful.
I would agree. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes, okay.
Like we're not going to tell you where it's going and do all sorts of things there. And that's perfectly fine. And you probably would have gotten a really similar reaction from Jason Miller.
Yeah.
Because he's an actor.
Because he's an actor. Come on. Yeah. But yeah. Now, Keenan, there's a little bit of lore about the I guess the substance of this stuff. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we call it pea soup, and people seem to call it that right away after the movie, so they know all about that. And
pea soup this, pea soup that.
Yeah, people are really they find out right away, like what is that stuff? It looks like pea soup. What is it, etc. And so that's what we've always called it, right? That everyone's always called it. So of course people would think that it's Campbell's soup, but it is not Campbell's soup. It is Anderson, a brand that I had not heard of, except for in this regards. And it is condensed pea soup, which is, like what, like if you're familiar with the Campbell's, right, you have to add water to it when you cook it. So it is that stuff. It's before they've added the soup to it. So it's really more like a pea soup base.
Yeah.
Right. It's not quite soup yet. So it is still chunky and kind of drippy and nasty. And they've added oatmeal to it of some kind to give it some further consistency. So so it is actually pea soup. That's not like an urban legend necessarily. But people will just assume it's Campbell's, and that rankles some people.
Yeah. It's not Campbell's.
It's not Campbell's.
Yeah. Now, we made sure we're absolutely sure it's Anderson's, right? Because I don't want to be on the receiving end of...
Well, unless it's some elaborate hoax, because I've never heard of Anderson's brand soup. But that is what I've seen in several places.
An M&M's Reese's Peaches situation. No, it's not Campbell's. It's definitely not Campbell's. We don't endorse possessed little girls. No.
Right. But that is what you see mostly when people are... It's usually you see people say it's Anderson's pea soup when they are angrily correcting other people saying that it's Campbell's soup. Like,
I do know for a fact
but if you do Google Anderson's Pea Soup, the first thing you get is a couple of restaurants in Northern California called Pea Soups Anderson's. That must be a reference to that.
Interesting. Pea Soups Anderson's. Pea soups full of smiling patrons and green and Captain Howdy's.
Right.
But yeah, so we cut back to the bed, and Linda Blair is giving us this amazing 1,000-yard stare. Again, like the devil just did something devilish, like what I would call like a little victory here.
I'm so sorry. I was doing some real-time research. Can I change what I just said?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I clicked one.
It's not Anderson's, is it?
No, it is. It is.
Oh, okay.
So I'd never heard of this brand Anderson soup, but if you Google into it and look at, there are 2 restaurants in Northern California called Pea Soups Anderson's, and they say that they have been serving Anderson's condensed pea soup for decades. So this is where this soup comes from, presumably.
Okay. Well, there we go. Right.
Right.
For decades or for millennia. Yes, our first restaurant opened back in ancient Mesopotamia. I mean, right. Chicago. Go Cubs. But yeah, okay, so we cut back to the bed, and Linda Blair is giving us this amazing 1,000-yard stare. Again, like, folks, the devil just did something devilish. What I would call like a little victory here, right? Like you won that argument, right? That's how you win. Forget Dale Carnegie for just a second, right? Like How to Win Friends and Enemies. Like that's how you win an argument. Is you barf all over somebody, right?
Right.
But
yeah, forget Steve Harvey. That's how you win Family Feud. You just puke on someone like that.
All right, for all the points, what's the number one answer?
Right.
Show me. No, don't show me anything.
Don't show me.
No. But yeah, so like, yeah, the devil just did something devilish, but it is not smiling.
Right.
Like, again, that's like, you would think, like, a little bit of laughing, like that happens in the screenplay and the book, right? It's like this chuckling, this laughing after. It's like, I gotcha, right? But not here. Nope. Like, what do we make of this expression?
Just stillness, right? Just like, yeah, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing what I thought of that.
Yeah. Ooh. Like we were talking before, right? Like back in the subway with Vinnie Russell looking at Karis, right? And then earlier with the people in Iraq looking at Marin, right? And you were talking about how it seems to be like a theme of this movie, people looking at you and making you uncomfortable. And like way back when you said that, this was the shot I was thinking of.
Right. The gaze, G-A-Z-E, right? The gaze.
Yeah. Like what is behind that look, right? And like we talk about humanizing Captain Howdy in the book, right? Like he's cracking jokes, he's being sassy, he's playing chess with Karis, right? He's winking at the reader. This Captain Howdy has moments like this one that are completely inhuman. Like, and what I mean is this expression right here feels like something alien, something beyond our ken, right, is looking at us, right? Like I don't want to get too distracted because we're already going long on this one, but like, you know how in The Shining, Danny can get inside people's minds and he can read their thoughts, and
he's got the shin.
He's got the shin. Do you want to get sued?
Right.
But yeah, so in the book, in The Shining, Danny actually tries this with one of the ghosts. Like he tries it with the lady in the tub.
Oh, really?
And he says it wasn't like people's thoughts. It was like a bunch of black wasps
Mm.
all hating him at the same time. And it was just this loud, incoherent buzzing, almost like static. And it got me thinking, like, how do angels think? How do demons think?
Right.
Like, Linda Blair's face is completely relaxed here. She's not snarling, but she's also not like smirking or sneering, right? Her face is completely blank. It's like Captain Howdy has retreated all the way back into just her eyes and is peeking out at us in this like insectoid way.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Ugh, yeah. Like,
and
then,
you know, she has these sort of, I don't know. Does she have contacts in? It's sort of.
She must.
She must. Right. Yeah. So she has this thinking of insectoid eyes, right? Like when an insect is looking at you, you know they're looking at you, but you can't read insect eyes, right? Because they're really compound eyes that then look to us like beads, but they're not really, right? So it's something similar here where we can look into her eyes, but we can't actually read what she's thinking.
Her pupils are extremely. What's the opposite of dilated? Like they're like pinpoints.
I'm remembering. Hold on. They're constricted. I just remembered.
Right. Everyone talks about the boa constrictor. You got to watch out for the boa dilator.
Right.
Yeah. No, gets you to open up. No, but no, yeah, like her pupils are like pinpoints,
right?
And that just kind of like adds to the inhumanness, right?
Yes.
Like because you see like, and they do this with like animation and character design, right? They make people's eyes bigger, so you can kind of like it's like puppy dog eyes. You can see the emotion right coming from the eyes, and these eyes are like it's like just two pinholes, and that makes it like unknowable, right? Talking about being unknowable again, right? Yeah, almost like a mask itself, right? And then, okay, so one more thing we have to talk about here, Keenan. We already mentioned it, the pea soup. And I was like, okay, we're running along, like let's have the pea soup for later. But now I'm realizing like it doesn't happen as much as we remember, right?
Right.
Like when does it happen again? Like not like this. This is the big like parodied moment, right? Like she spits in Marin's face later and she dribbles on herself, but like there's nothing like this again. The like blah, you know.
And then going back and looking at it, from the beginning of this scene, she's had green stuff all over her. We didn't recognize what it was, and now when we look at it again, we're like, oh, she's been puking on people and herself. And
right, yeah. So okay, so let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it symbolically, what it represents. Okay, so Keenan, the pea soup, which I feel like people almost maybe like forget or don't realize is not pea soup, right? Nor is it like some unique devil slime that Captain Howdy has made, right? She's not a xenomorph, right? Like this is vomit, right? Or it's supposed to be. This is human vomit. This is Regan's vomit, right? And like using Regan's own body to like disgust and to repel. Right. There is nothing supernatural about it except maybe like the strength and the force of it. Right. I guess going with Regan's own like superhuman strength right now. Right. But it's not acid. It's not slime. It's not some demon concoction specific to demons. It's just vomit. Why? Why not like fire and brimstone? Why not green smoke? Why not a swarm of flies? Why not something more inhuman? What is Captain Howdy's tactic here? What do you think?
Well, you know, maybe if you're Captain Howdy's skeptic, which I sometimes am, I go back and forth, right? Maybe he doesn't have the power to, you know, bring brimstone and lightning and things like that. Maybe he is, you know, limited by his materials, which is a 12-year-old girl.
Interesting.
Or a 13-year-old girl. She had a birthday, sorry.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, we can't forget that, right?
Right, sorry.
It wasn't a very good birthday, but maybe we want to forget it. But
right.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Like, well, okay, so we are like in that assumption, we are already saying yes, Captain Howdy is real, but maybe he's not powerful enough to do this. Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, and to do like fire and brimstone and stuff
or
like that.
Or Thor stuff. You can't do Thor, or
you can't do Thor.
He's not Thor. He's not Aquaman.
Right. Even though, I mean, like you know, this guy, this demon is saying he is the devil, right? You know, well, but actually, Keenan, that also goes with like what we're talking about, like putting Karis in doubt, right? Because if this girl really was spitting fire or doing smoke or flies or something like that, that would kind of like answer Karras's question pretty quickly.
Right. It's too vulgar a display of power.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, this is definitely isn't a sick girl, right?
Right.
But what do sick girls do? They vomit. So there you go, right? But for me also, so this is actually extremely significant. This is 100% intentional. And it ties in with what Marin says at the end on those steps with my thesis. Again, like, I don't know how much of this is just me spitting theories. But for me, this is a declaration by Captain Howdy. He is pointing his finger at all of humanity, and he is saying, this is what you are, and this is all you are. Look at what I have reduced this girl to. And I could do it to you too, Karras, because boiled down to the barest components, human beings are just gross matter. All you do is vomit and shit and bleed and die and rot, and then you go back to the earth because that's what you are. Mud to mud, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's you, right? And even while you're alive, you're just filth factories. And what makes Captain Howdy angry, I think, is the pretense, the unbelievable presumption that we are somehow connected to God, right? Not only that, but that we are his most beloved, right? That's laughable, right? Like when he can make us do this, right? Again, folks, this goes back to that beautiful passage, right? Where Iblis, or, Satan, Lucifer, right, refuses to bow down to Adam because, again, God created the angels out of light, the purest, cleanest substance on, that there is, right? And then he created humans out of earth, right? Out of mud. And this is his pride. This is, the devil's pride, because he is a spirit of light being asked to submit to this being of earth and filth, right? And then, combine that with the jealousy, the incredulity that God would love this creature and share a communion and a kinship with this creature over him. And I know I'm sort of like borrowing from different texts and, stitching them together and filling in the gaps with my own, characterization. But that's because none of these religious texts really get into the devil's head. And I always thought this story, from the Islamic texts was so telling of demonic nature and also of God's love for us, despite our flaws, where the devil only sees our flaws, right? He sees that we're these base creatures, right? And the devil is like, how can you love this, this thing, this gross thing? And God is just like, you don't understand. Right. And it's that trope in, you see all over the place where like evil cannot comprehend good, cannot comprehend like simple, unselfish love. Right. Like that's just like, look at all these, these pyrotechnics I can do, and look at how advanced I am. And I have all the knowledge of the world. And aren't I better for this? And just like, being able to love someone and forgive someone. And, it's like, despite us being like these gross things. Right. And so, of course, our Captain Howdy here is going to be like, look at what it is to be human. It's gross. Humans are gross, right? And the funniest part, the most infuriating part, is that you can't even handle your own grossness. This girl is grossing you out. I spit on you and you recoil in disgust. The hypocrisy. Your body does the same thing, Karras, but you can't stand it. You stand here in these nice clothes, you wear this little collar, and you think that elevates you somehow, puts you closer to God, please. And folks, that is Captain Howdy's argument right there, that we are not who we pretend to be, that we really are just this, right? Like one of my favorite lines in Empire Strikes Back is when Yoda is talking to Luke about, their connection to the Force, right? And he says, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. And Captain Howdy is saying, no, that's wrong. That's a fantasy. That's a lie that you tell yourselves. You talk about, love and compassion for the poor and the lame and the sick. You talk about it, but I will show you. You will abandon this girl because human beings always fall short. So there it is, folks. That is my grand thesis. I think Captain Howdy is here to prove a point, right? That man is not like God, right? Despite all these like lofty aspirations, all these claims that we are part of this covenant, that somewhere deep down we all share this like unspoken, very real foundation of like, godliness and love and compassion and empathy for each other. And that's what makes us more than just like selfish animals. He's saying that itself is just a selfish, self-serving lie, right? Our humanity is a construct. We are beasts claiming divinity. That's the thing, right? And he's trying to prove it with like, I'm going to take this thing that you love, right? Like you say that love conquers all. You say that love is real, right? I'm going to take this thing that you love, right? This girl, and I'm going to make you forsake her, right? And I'm not even going to do anything like unnatural. I'm going to do the things that humans do. I'm going to barf. I'm going to shit. I'm going to say mean things, and you're not going to be able to take it, right? And eventually your disgust will override your love, right? And that's the big thing, right? That's the thing that you claim like separates you from all the other beasts, right? Is this thing you share with God, right? Like love and compassion and forget. Like, that's not even real, right? Like you can't even do that.
And some further, I don't know about theologians, but a lot of lay people, this might be based in some theology somewhere, but we like to simplify that God is love, right? That is something that they say. I don't know that. I don't think that's biblical, right? But that is something, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's something that a lot of people really deeply hold, that God is love, that some people's idea of like what hell is the absence of God and the absence of love, right? And so they equate that with him.
Yes, and actually, I that you bring up a very, very good point. That's exactly where my mind was when I was like writing this argument, is that I too like equate that like our ability, in my own faith, like our ability to have compassion for one another, I believe that, that comes from higher up, right? And I think that is, a thing that kind of like connects us, right? And so the idea that like that's fake, that we're just like pretending, it's like, oh, it's just, it's neurons firing in your brain. It's all biological. It's all lust. It's all, there's no true love. There's no, like Romeo and Juliet, they just wanted to get with each other. There's no romance with that. You're animals. You just want to rut in the bushes. That's all you want to do, right? Because you're like all the other animals, right? And that goes again with like Captain Howdy making Regan or other devils, like making their victims like bark like dogs or like squeal like pigs, and like because it's like, oh, you want to speak up now, Regan, you want to say something, well, like it all sounds the same to me, let's make you low like a steer, let's make you hiss like a snake, right? It's just more animal noise, right? But even if we don't go spiritual, right? Like even non-religious people believe in, the power of love, right? We want to believe that love really does conquer all, that we as humans have that capacity, that we can overcome anything through love, right? Religious folks say that is the connection, right? God is love, right? Non-religious folks can say that is what it is to be human, right? Human decency, right?
Yes, and a lot of people who this is sort of changing, but for many, for millennia, a lot of people didn't want to admit that animals were capable of love.
Right.
And that is changing now as people, with the animal psychology, et cetera. But even just like animal rights people are like, no, when a steer, no, not a steer, sorry. When a cow, no, what's the animal I'm thinking? When a pig, when a sow, oh my gosh, when a sow is with her babies, right? That is love. It's not, it's not like just biological function. It's the same biological function that we have with love and our relationship with our children.
Yeah, and anybody who has had pets, like I have had, like you can't tell me that they don't feel love. Come on,
right.
But again, going into the face of that, right? Like Captain Howdy says, yeah, that's all fake. That's false. Like that love doesn't exist. It's a construct, right? And the type of love that that humans ask of themselves, that they idealize, is impossible, right? Going back to Keenan, we were talking about like way back in the beginning of this movie. We were talking about how Father Marin, reacts to the tea shop owner, right? Or how he reacts to anybody, right? Like with this love and compassion that, like even you said, like is like this almost like impossible ideal that religions call upon us to practice, right? Like impossible, and you could say like inhuman, right? Like this is the thing that ties us to God, is like unconditional, like I don't care who you are, I don't care what you did, love. Right.
Marin loves the tea shop attendant. In the book says that once he could not love this man, but now the implication is that he could now.
Yes.
And then, we juxtapose that with Karras, who does not love Vinnie Russell and knows that he should.
Yeah. And so Captain Howdy's argument is like, okay, even if that love does exist, even if God does exist and that love is out there in the world, humans don't even come close to that, right? Humans abandon Humans abandon other humans every day. And I will show you. I will take this girl. I will make her so repulsive that even her own mother will eventually abandon her, right? And while we're on the subject, Karis, hey, let's talk about how a son's love wasn't enough to save Mary Karis. Let's talk about how her little boy turned away in disgust from that dingy apartment, from the newspapers on the floor, from the cockroaches. Oh, and now here he is, a man of God. Oh, peace be with you. Forgive us our sins. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from what, Karis? From what? Right? That's the audacity that he would come here like and pretend to be a priest. Like when he can't even not only does he not believe, but like he can't even aspire to that level of love that is being asked of him. Right? Yeah. And like he's
you're going to quit your job and because you don't feel right. Right? Like, oh, because you don't have the right feelings. Boo-hoo-hoo for you, Karis.
Yeah, right.
But you're not going to help other people because of your feelings. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you're the soldier of God, right? They sent you. It's you, right? Yeah. And you're gonna save this girl through the power of what? The power of what compels me, Karis? Come on, right? So he's so holy, he's so virtuous, he's gonna save this girl. Oh yeah, like that is, and there we go. Like I've dropped it, folks, and like please write in, tell me if you agree or disagree. That is Captain Howdy's argument. He's here, he's putting on a show, he's here to prove a point, and that vomit, which is a very human thing. He's saying the vomit is more real than love.
Right.
It's visceral. It can, hey, Karis, you can taste it, right?
Great. Love it. Yeah. Hate it really, but love it.
Yeah.
Wonderful, Lester. Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, okay, so we cut from that scene in the bedroom and we are back down in Regan's playroom. And Keenan, they are watching us.
Who?
Exactly. We got a bunch of owls, which, by the way, like, did we say what the collective term was for owls? Right, we talked about
almost certainly. That's one that I knew. I wouldn't have to look that one up.
It was like doing like an embarrassment of pandas.
Embarrassment of pandas, but it is a parliament of owls.
Yes, a parliament.
That is one of my favorites.
Yes, we got a parliament of owls looking at us, and we got two that look like they were cut from a magazine, and maybe then as we move left, we got another bird, a little crow, of some cartoon bird looking.
Right. But it's two owls that are been cut out, and then it looks like Regan, I'm presuming, because she's the artist, is trying to combine these two in her own sketch, right?
Right. We got a sketch there, yeah, right.
And we got a crow, not a murder of crows, just the one.
Not
crow.
A murder of crows, right? Maybe an attempted murder. I don't know. No, take that out.
No, you leave that in.
But yeah, and then if you missed it before, folks, here's the big bad wolf again, right? Dressed as grandma and eyeing Little Red Riding Hood, right? I forgot about this close up. I thought we were so clever in episode 23, like half a year ago, folks. Like I was so proud of myself. I was like, oh, careful viewers will notice this scene where Regan is talking about Captain Howdy, and a picture of the big bad wolf is behind her. I really thought we were catching something that like we would never see again, and now here it is, just a slow pan. It's like freaking is like, yeah, see? Like, big bad wolf right there.
Yeah, it's a big bad close-up of the big bad wolf.
Yeah, I like that big bad close-up. Yeah. So
and Damien's looking at him. When we cut to the wide shot, it's Damien is looking at this big bad wolf and thinking.
Yeah, right. He's I don't know what he's thinking. But yeah, so yeah, we see he is exactly where Regan used to be way back in the beginning of the film, right? He's behind that little work table with all its little clay paper mache sculptures, right? We got the dumb bird looking right at him, right? And he's standing up and he's looking at what we were just looking at, all these pictures and drawings, right? And yeah, and Keenan, I see something else too. That drawing of the bears, the sheep. Remember, like we were arguing about
right.
what those were, but we both agreed that they were beasts, right? Yes,
beasts, not friends. Yeah. They're beasts.
That drawing is up on the wall. Do you see it?
I don't. But that
look
would
where
mean
Karis's shadow is. It is below the owls.
That is the exact same one.
It is, right? Yeah. It's blurry, but you can see like the two Carl and Willie sheep, right? And the mother and the daughter in the middle, right? And the sow in the top left. Right?
That's not right?
Yeah, that's it.
No, it is there, but that doesn't make any sense. That the drawing is there because we saw it upstairs.
Oh yeah. So that means that at some point after Kinderman left,
right,
and after all this stuff that happened, like, do you know what Chris did? Do you know what she did?
You know what she did down there?
Chris came back upstairs. No, she came back downstairs.
She came down from the crucifix scene.
And went back to the kitchen, picked up this drawing and was like, maybe. And then she hung it up.
Right. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I can't decide if that's weird or heartbreaking. It's like,
oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Like this is like I may never see my daughter again. I need to like preserve everything of hers, right? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe put all the stuff that's up there and bring it downstairs into this little corner. Yeah, that could be potentially heartbreaking. All right, you've sold me on that. Yeah, because like we've cleared out the whole Regan's bedroom is devoid of anything Regan.
Yes.
And so potentially Chris is going through and taking all the stuff out from the ground floor and bringing them down here.
Yeah.
And, she doesn't necessarily think she's going to spend a lot of time down here. She doesn't do the laundry, right? That's what Willie and Carl are for.
Right.
But in this case, she has to do laundry because we have her guest who's been puked all over.
Right. Has been puked all over. Yeah.
Yes. All right. I like it, Lester.
Yeah. It's like, but I want to talk a little bit more about this room, this reprisal of Regan's art and her like safe space that, with her not in it. But I feel like, we are running long, so I'm going to save it for the next time, actually.
Great.
So we got Karras, and he turns away from these drawings, and we see that he's got a cigarette, which is almost down to the filter by now. So you get the feeling that like some time has passed, right? And of course, like we cut and we see, Chris has washed, dried, and is now ironing that shirt that Regan vomited on, right? Another quick cut, and we're back with Karras. He has picked up some drawings from the work table and is now looking closely at these. And if I remember, those are some pretty disturbing drawings, but we will have to wait until next time, until the next minute to get a good look at them. That is all my notes for this minute. Keenan, is there anything else that we missed?
No, I think we got it.
All right. Folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz. You could find me on Instagram and Letterboxd as Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, we got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. Thank you so much to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media, and a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings. I just checked. We got another one today, Keenan. Yes.
Oh my God.
They like us. They really like us.
They really like us.
The sow is mine. No. Yes, we really appreciate it, guys. That's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. All right. Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time. The power of Beetlejuice compels you.
But no! That's your third time, Lester! No! I only said it once, thank God.
I was waiting for it's like minute 167 so I could do the I've seen The Exorcist 167 times.
and then I was like, getting funnier every freaking time.
Then I was like, wait a minute, Lester, this movie isn't 167.
Right.
So we can never do that joke except now when we just did it. Yeah.